Yo, what's going on, guys? It's the Nerdy Giant here, back again with another video, and I have my good friend the Blind Prophet here with me, and we're
Sheesh.
here at the co-op couch, like not on the actual couch, but
Yeah, the spirit.
virtual, virtual couch.
Virtual co-op couch, yeah.
Yeah. But no, yeah. So we are doing another video because there's some more things we want to talk about. There's always news in the gaming world and movie world and everything. I feel every day. But one thing is that we had a new game drop, Kenna, and we both had the opportunity to play that. We actually played it like simultaneously, so we kind of like shared our thoughts and things on it while we were playing. I didn't get to play too much of it because I had work, so I had to get off a little bit earlier than planned. But what do you think of it? What do you think of it as far as what you've played?
Yeah, so I've played approximately about 4 to 5 hours. Played a little bit last night when we were playing together, and then after you got off, I still played, and then I played a little bit this morning. And there's parts of it. It's a weird game because there's parts of it where I can tell that Ember Labs, it's their first game. I could tell where you see those little areas where you could tell like, oh yeah, this is they're still new to this. But then there's also areas where I'm like, dang, like, are they really new to this? Like, did they have people who were kind of seasoned helping them with the game? And it's a really well constructed game. I think the thing that I appreciate the most about it is like the sort of ambiance and like the feeling of it as you're playing it. Like it feels, similar to the kind of feeling that I got playing it was like if like Horizon Zero Dawn, Breath of the Wild, and God of War kind of came together and were all morphed into one game because it kind of has that structure of like God of War where like you're in this like sort of like a world that branches off and then you could still come back to this like hub. It has a character like Aloy who, is very in tune with her environment and the things going on around her. And, when she comes and meets side characters, she gets very familiar with them and, learns from them. And then, just the Breath of the Wild, or not so much Breath of the Wild exclusively, but just that Zelda feel of like the musical cues and the little cutesy things going on. So it felt very much like those three games, and it felt very influenced by those three games, and even maybe even something like Tomb Raider, in terms of like traversal and upgrading as you progress through the story. It just it's a very well constructed game. I think it's a lot more fairly priced than something like Deathloop, which I know we're gonna get into later. Um,
Yeah,
but definitely, I do recommend it. It's I'm still going through it, so my thoughts could change the further I get. But there's really nothing bad I could say about it so far. It's just like I say, the only I wouldn't even say it's negative. It's more so like I don't know how you would say that. Not even constructive criticism. It's just I can tell in certain areas where like yeah, this is their first. They're breaking through and kind of showing themselves as they are learning, and I'm excited to see how they progress if they continue on this route of making games.
yeah. Like I said, I haven't played as much as you, but from what I had played and what I did experience, it's a technical marvel for sure. Like
Yeah,
just the technicality of the game is it's amazing. Like I get a Pikmin feel with it as well, with your little red. They're called rots, I believe,
yeah,
right? Yeah, I'm saying that right. Um, I get like a Pikmin feel from the 64 or GameCube era, where those little plant dudes are following you around. Yeah, you got these guys following you around and stuff,
hmm.
and how you can like use them and in a way throw them, kind of like the Pikmin. Um, so I like that, and we'll both agree it's a freaking graphical marvel. Like it's like an animated Pixar Disney movie that you're playing.
Yeah,
Um, I think it's great. I'm on performance mode on my PS5, so I'm getting the 60 frames per second rather than 30 frames, and it's definitely does a changer. I don't know what it was like for you on the PC or anything, or if it looked or felt and ran smooth or what.
yeah. I mean, again, just like with Deathloop when we talked about it, we're on PC and PS5 respectively, um, and I can't speak on the controller part again, which I know you can, but I don't know if you've progressed to the point where you can feel the adaptive trigger yet. Um,
Yeah.
you have?
Yeah, so when I use my I want to call it a wand. It's not a wand. We're not Harry Potter.
It's like a
My
staff.
staff, and I use my heavy attack with R2. It kind of pushes back on me, so it feels like I'm kind of like really swinging, like having to put a lot of like strength into swinging for
Hmm.
the heavy attack.
Well, there's
So,
also you also get like a an upgrade for it later on that's similar to like a bow.
oh
Um,
yeah, the bow. No, I haven't
so
gotten the bow yet.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like you might be able to speak on that more, but as far as yeah, like graphically and all that stuff, I honestly when I was looking, there was a video that compared the three right now as PC, PS5 performance, and PS5 fidelity. Honestly, the performance looked better than the fidelity. The fidelity almost looked like um, when you play a game on PC uh,
Hmm.
with DLSS. That's what the fidelity mode looked like. It kind of looked like gray and like I don't know something about it. Just because again, it's 30 FPS rather than the 60. I don't know if that
Yeah.
how that affects it. It should look better, being that you know the fidelity. There's more pixels or something. I don't know. I'm not a tech person to really speak on that. I just knew that when I was watching that video, the performance actually looked better than the fidelity.
I
For my experience on PC, dude, I'm having a good time. Load times are practically non-existent. When I want to jump in, it's not even like 2 seconds, and I'm sure it's no different on PS5.
Yeah, no, the load times are fantastic. I haven't even had any load times to be honest. Like I booted it up, went straight to the home screen, started my game, and it's been going on. Like when I play, I didn't get any loading, even for cutscenes. It went right into the cutscenes.
The
So,
only
um,
actually, yeah. Now that I think about it, the only nitpick now that you said home screen, the only nitpick that I have with the game so far is that the voice actress for Kenna sounds kind of bored at times. Like she sounds very monotone. When she's interacting with like the rot and the kids, she sounds fun and lighthearted. But when she's talking to other people, she like they're the adult characters, she kind of sounds like very flat. And I wanted to transition to see if the Japanese voice acting would be any better because this game kind of has like a Japanese like feel to it, like something like Zelda. So I was like,
yeah,
let me see if I could switch over to the Japanese voice acting. You can't switch over the voice acting. You have to switch the whole game over to Japanese. So your menu will be in Japanese, the subtitles will be in Japanese, and that's for every language. So I hope in
oh,
the future they support having the different languages, but still allowing for your menu and subtitles to remain whatever language you want them to.
yeah, yeah.
Because
Oh,
like I say,
that's crazy.
the voice acting for Kenna herself can feel very flat at times. Which again is not game breaking. I just wanted to see how it would sound with Japanese, but in order to do so, I needed to transition all of the game's interface to
Mm.
Japanese.
I do know. Speaking of like characters and everything with the cutscenes, I did watch. Um, what is it name? Like Foundry or Digital Foundry. Um, and I think they said that in the cutscenes it's stuck at 30 frames per second, not the 60 like you are when you play in game. But again, I don't really notice a difference when it comes to
Yeah,
that.
that's really
It's
not a
well,
problem. Because a lot of movies, I think
yeah,
movies are made in like 24 frames.
24 frames per second. Yeah. So
So
um,
that's not really a big deal.
no, I think it's something original and new. I mean, like it takes things from other games, if that makes sense. But it's I'm interested to see what more about because the thing that really has me is the world and the mystery behind everything, and that's what I'm looking forward to diving into more
Yeah.
as I continue to play the game. I'm thinking I'm currently playing this and God of War, and I'm shooting for a platinum with God of War, but I think I might hold God of War off and actually go for the platinum, depending how much I like the game. Right? If you don't like the game, then why platinum it? But I'm pretty sure I'm going to enjoy this game to the point where I may shoot for platinum with Kenna as well.
Yeah,
So
I mean, speaking of God of War, I see this game, and I might be making a very, early, naive sort of prediction, but I think this game might be Game of the Year, just because we
wow,
haven't had a lot of like major hit releases
Uh-huh.
this year. I mean, so far we've been getting freaking director's cuts of every game that released like a year or two
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so as far as like big releases, I know we got like what, like Hitman in January. Um, we've gotten a few. Like, it's not to discredit those that have come out,
Yeah.
but
I'd say Hitman was a pretty likable game when it released. I'm pretty sure. I'm actually, now you bring it up, I want to look. This is how I am. I'm a very much like looking some of this up type of thing.
yeah,
I want to
Deathloop.
look
Like
something.
like I say, Deathloop. We'll get into that later, but that's definitely not game of the year for me.
No, I know it's going to be a contender though.
Oh, it's gonna be up there on the board for sure. Because like I say, nothing else has really come out.
Yeah. So yeah, we're looking at an 84 Metacritic score for Hitman 3. Um, and that's for like journalists and all the um, critic reviews. And then we're looking at a 7.9 for user scores. So yeah, Hitman 3 was a pretty big hit when it hit. I don't think there was any big game that came out in February that I can think of.
So some big ones that I'm looking at is we got like Biomutant, which I feel like kind of just dropped flat as soon as it
Oh
came out. Um,
yeah, Biomutant that did not do very
Resident Evil
well. I haven't played
Village.
it. But
Village, I feel like could be a big contender. I know a lot of people really enjoyed that.
yeah, so
Um,
Biomutant is kind of in the middle. It's about like a 64. Then this is really rare to see actually. Like the critics and the users are agreeing basically. So you got a 64 for Biomutant with the critics and a 6.8 for user score.
yeah.
So
So
and again, this is Metacritic. So some people don't follow or agree with Metacritic, and I get that. I go to Metacritic because it has all of the reviews all in like one area basically.
yeah, honestly, the biggest that I see right now are Ratchet and Clank, Resident Evil Village, and Kenna. I think those will be the big three that are fighting for Game of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, I think Deathloop will be up there. I mean, I know we have different views on it, but it's some people are very much liking the game, especially the critics. Like it's gotten nines and tens across the board.
That's true,
So
because if it's a critically, because that's what how God of War was. I feel personally that
yeah,
the overall consensus for between God of War and Red Dead Redemption 2 is that if it was up to the audience, Red Dead would have won. But because critically, God of War was such a higher, like, critically, like, uh, rich
yeah,
game, I think that's why it won. So maybe, yeah,
yeah.
maybe Deathloop will be a contender just because of that. It's like the Oscars, you know.
So
Um,
and that's the thing when it comes to these things. That like I love watching the Game Awards. Like I love watching them just because it's really fun for me to like see this because you don't really like. I don't know. It really kind of gives acknowledgement to these people who create these games, and I really like that. But at the same time, it's like the Oscars, where it's just like the more popularity you have, because the way they vote with these games is there's a panel of judges, and these panels are consisted of all these major critics. You have like
yeah, I
IGN,
mean, if
Easy
you look at
Ally, all of that.
if
Yeah.
you look at, I think it was last year, right? Last year,
Oh,
The Last of
yeah.
Us walked away, and a lot of people thought it was going to be Ghost of Tsushima.
No. And the other thing, well, the thing, and again, I think Last of Us 2 was a fantastic game, but I did laugh at the Game Awards because literally The Last of Us 2 like swept the awards.
Yeah,
Like it won everything. I think Ghost of Tsushima got player choice, but everything else went to The Last of Us Part 2. So it was like, obviously, it was a Game Awards show that everyone kind of knew was coming because when they said, and the winner is, everyone's like, oh, I wonder The Last of Us 2. Like, it was no shock and awe moment like some of the award shows are like. But
yeah,
I think when it comes to Deathloop, it will be a little different in regards to the critics and how they feel. So I do think Deathloop does have a chance to shine in that regards. But yeah, I won't be surprised if Village and um, what was the other one? Village
Ratchet and
and
Clank.
what was What was it?
Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
Ranch. Oh my gosh, Ratchet and Clank. Yeah, I think that one might have a big because I know that one was very critically acclaimed everywhere.
Yeah.
With Kenna, I'm sure it will be loved in Game of the Year for many players and many game reviewers and YouTubers, but I don't think it will get there in the Game Awards show per se. One, because it's not the amount of attention, unless it gets a whole lot of attention here in the next like few months, then maybe. But I don't know if it's going to be one of those high profile games that they'll acknowledge per se in regards to Game of the Year, because it is an independent developer, and I don't know many independent games that get those type of awards.
Yeah, I mean, here's to hoping, because like I say, it's been a very enjoyable experience so far.
No, yeah, I agree. I think it's been a great experience for a lot of people. And I'm looking right now, and it's an 84 on Metacritic right now. There's no user score currently, so I guess we just have to wait and see how like the players take it. Where 84 for an independent studio for their first game, I think is an exceptional
Well, yeah,
feat.
that's an interesting thing that we kind of talked about before it was released. Is like there's no one really talking about it. It was kind of just like non-existent. There was like no reviews, like there was no review embargo or anything. Um, so yeah, the whole user uh, consumer like reviews type stuff was really weird not to see. Like the only review that I saw for a while, right as it released, was IGN's review, and now I'm seeing
Yeah,
more people put up reviews. So I don't know if it's because like how we had said, like it was just one of those games that it's just kind of like a leap of faith. Once it releases, it releases. It wasn't really something that they were trying to like, sort of hype up. Which, like I told you, I was excited about, and I appreciate it just because like I don't like when games are so hyped up like Cyberpunk, and then it releases and it's not what we expected.
yeah, and that's actually speaking of the way. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, for an independent studio, they did like the review embargo really weird because like they only gave the code to certain individuals. And I heard this on one of the bigger YouTubers. Skill Up is his name. He does a lot of reviews. And he was basically saying that it was hard to get a review code for the game. And then when they basically showed the embargo lifts right when the game launches, it was very like, to a reviewer and to some people, hardcore gamers, that's very concerning, because it's like, oh, okay, well, why are we hiding what happened, what's going on, like, because if you think about it, we didn't hear much about Kenna throughout the year, right? We saw it last year as the announcement for when the PS5, we saw like, oh, Kenna, that looks really cool,
Yeah,
and then complete auto like silence for who knows how long. Then we heard about it again at one of the state of plays, giving us the release date of August, and then it getting delayed to September and not hearing anything until it released.
yeah, yeah. And then that's the other thing too,
So
is that you had brought up as well that it's only available digitally.
yeah, so it was, and it also, yeah, that's another thing that kind of upset people. And that, I don't know, I have a different feel on this, but a lot of people were not willing to buy it because there was no physical copy. And I'm like, what, and there's that argument like, well, I want to own my games. I don't want to. And I'm just like, I have a huge argument when it comes to that, which basically is, and I guess that gets into our next topic with digital and physical that we wanted to talk about. Um, Owning a physical copy and a digital copy to me does not mean a thing. If you own the physical copy, yeah, you have a physical like thing you're holding, but technically still you are still downloading the code that they gave to you. You don't physically, like, you do not own per se. We'll use God of War for an example. If I buy God of War for $60 at the game store, bring it home, I'm buying the code. I'm not buying the game. It's the same thing I know with the digital version. You're buying the code. So I don't see why everybody freaks out over, oh, physical is better than digital, because
Well,
in a way you're buying the same code regardless how you're purchasing it.
from my understanding, and I think my opinion on it has changed, is that a lot of people were concerned with digital because the way that digital was being handled was like there's like a server thing, and I heard it more in regards to like PC. When you buy a game off of something like Steam or Origin or Epic or something, there's like a server that allows you to play that game, even if it's only single player or something. Whereas like before, if you bought a game on the PS2, boom, you could still take that game right now, put it in the PS2, and you're good to go. Whereas
Mhm.
games now, if you were to try to play a game in, let's say, 15 years on your PC that you had the download code for, it might not be that simple. Just because maybe the support for Steam, they shut it down, something, whatever the case may be. I don't remember the exact argument, but the way that I've switched my perspective on it is I still do prefer physical. Like if a game is coming out and it has like a steelbook, I would prefer to get that over a digital copy. But being that I'm on PC now, what kind of has changed my perspective is that a lot of games require you to sign into an online service before playing them
Yeah.
anyway. So if you want to play something that is on like EA or something, you have to sign into like EA Play or whatever.
Mhm.
You have to sign on to uh, whatever the service may be, whether it's that studio or publisher's own service. You still have to be online. So again, it might lend itself even more to that argument. But for me, it's like if you have to like go online anyway, a physical copy is no different than the digital because you would still need the online capabilities to even download it right out the gate. So if you're
Yeah.
gonna need the online to begin with, the digital and physical don't really make a difference. I could be wrong on this. Someone could definitely argue against that, but the way that I understand it, and again with how some games require you to sign into like Warner Brothers service or
Hmm.
whatever the online service is to be able to even access that game, you have to sign in, and that's where.
Yeah. And I don't know. I look at, and I'm fine with digital copies. Like I don't know. I think it's convenient. It's easy. You just get it right there and then instead of having one get in the line, waste gas to go to the store. I just think it's more convenient. And I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this probably, but I do see digital being the future of gaming. I do. I see that. I see companies slowly turning over to digital. They're already starting to with the way that they did the director cuts. When it was like, oh, you buy it digitally, it's this much. Oh, if you want to buy it physically, you got to pay full price.
Yeah.
So I can see them slowly turning into digital, which is going to make an uproar in the gaming community. Just wait. I can guarantee people are going to throw a fit.
Well,
To me,
it's already kind of transitioning that way when you see like the collector's editions and stuff for Horizon don't come with a disc.
exactly.
Like that's weird. Why doesn't it come with a disc? You're paying
Yeah.
200 to $250 and you can't even get a freaking disc.
Yep. You don't get. Do they give you like a code or something
Yeah,
or
it's a
what?
code. It's again, it's that dual eligibility or dual
Yeah.
entitlement of being able to play it on both PS4 and PS5. So they don't give you a disc; they just give you a code.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, and going back to the Kenna thing, and this is what kind of made me raise my eyebrows a bit. Is people were like, "Oh, well, I want to support them, but I have to wait. But I'm going to buy the physical copy if they have one." Or people ask like, does this have a physical copy? If it doesn't, I won't be playing it. And I'm just kind of like, why? Like, I don't. It doesn't make sense to me. It's just like, so they don't have a physical copy. You're not going to play the game
I mean,
just because.
another argument I think could also be made is how, um, and this is just I think for an older generation of gamers, is when it was back in the day and you got a new game, you might have let your friend borrow it. Whereas
Yeah.
now, if you get a digital copy, only you can play it. So
I mean,
maybe it's not so much that per se, but it's just like because when you buy it physically, you have that game. Like that game is you could do
yeah.
whatever you want with it. You could even resell it if you wanted to.
And I
Whereas
think
if
that's
you
what a
get
lot of people like to do.
yeah, if you get the digital copy, it's locked to your device. You could definitely do like what PlayStation does, where like you have the shared console thing, where like you have like the the console that like oversees like maybe another console or something, and you could like share games that way or something. Where you could do like where I said
Yeah.
like you could still share the games with your friends or something, or you could even do
Yeah.
share play. But having that physical copy, like I mean I did that with The Last of Us. One of my old coworkers is he has it because I was like, dude, this is a dope game. I want you to try it. If I had the digital version, I don't have the freedom to do that. So again, everyone has their reasons for wanting physical and digital. For
Yeah.
me, if like a game like this that I mean is only single player and something, I think that's another argument to be had too. Is like if it's a multiplayer game, I really wouldn't mind if it's digital because it's not like I could play the game with someone if I give it to them. Whereas if it's a single player experience like The Last of Us, like that's not really a multiplayer experience as of yet. Um, I have no problem letting someone borrow it while I play something else.
Yeah.
So
And kind of bringing that up with the whole, and you make a point there where it's just like, hey, if you want someone to play it or try it out or borrow, you just hand them the disc and boom, bada bing, they're good to go.
yeah,
Like, obviously, you can't just go to work and be like, dude, I want you to play The Last of Us 2. Okay, let me go get my PS4 for you
yeah.
here.
Let
Hold
me
on.
hand you my whole console. Yeah,
So, I mean, I think that that's going to be an argument that we'll have for years. Because there is a split in the community when it comes to digital and physical. I see it on Facebook. I see it on Twitter. Like, there are people who think digital is better than physical, and people think physical are better than digital. And
it also if things transition to digital, I think of course you could probably still do it somehow. Maybe it'll be like timed, kind of like a beta. But it also gets rid of like the whole like blockbuster Redbox experience of renting a game. You don't get that
yep.
chance to like again you could still possibly do like a demo or a beta or some sort of way to kind of replicate that where it's like timed, and I'm sure they have done stuff like that, but it's not the same as like going and just renting the game and just returning it.
I remember doing that, going to the
Yeah,
like blockbusters and buying out one of the games that they released. Like there were some publishers that when the game released, they just throw it right into the movie into the rental stores.
yeah,
Um, yeah, that obviously is not a thing anymore. I mean, I guess if we look at Game Pass, that is some form of renting because you're downloading it and playing it until it leaves Game Pass, basically.
yeah.
But
I guess that's
that's
true
not.
because it is kind of timed because if you want to continue playing it, you have to pay that subscription service.
You
So
got to
yeah,
pay the
yeah. I
yeah,
guess I
exactly.
guess that's kind of similar. Yeah,
Or just outright buy the game.
yeah.
Um,
But that's what
so
was kind of cool too. Is like with something like Redbox, if you got one of the copies of the game that had been rented like a lot, you could buy it. Like I bought Doom for like $5 from Redbox, so that was kind of cool. Whereas like if you're doing Game Pass and you want to quit Game Pass and you want to buy something like Sea of Thieves, you have to pay the full $60 for it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So like
exactly.
again, there's little qualms and freedoms to physical that I think if you do digital, it locks all of those freedoms and abilities that you have
Yeah,
with a physical copy down. And I think maybe that's again, I could be totally wrong. Someone might have a different argument as to why they prefer physical, but I'm just thinking of all what I could think of right now based on my experiences and what I could relate to if someone was saying, no, you know what, I
I
prefer physical.
yeah, and I can see the pros and cons to owning both.
Yeah,
And I know there's some people who get the physical and digital editions.
yeah.
So you know, speaking of with the physical, digital, and we brought Game Pass into the um, conversation. Let's talk about Xbox and these acquisition rumors that are going around.
That they're
So
buying every company under the sun.
yeah, they're buying everything. Yeah, so there I think it was a couple days ago. There was a guy, I can't remember who it was. I want to say it was a tweet. It was on Twitter. Everything starts on Twitter. And he stated something on Twitter. Colts Wood, he on Twitter, um was talking about how Xbox Game Studio has proven themselves for quality and ratings and all this other thing, and they have Bethesda and Obsidian and Arcane, and now they're praising Deathloop and everything, and then talking about how another person tweeted and said insiders are saying Microsoft will soon make an announcement for a major acquisition, possibly on the same level of ZeniMax / Bethesda acquisition. Which company do you think Microsoft purchased? And that's where things went absolutely crazy. People started tweeting. You got another guy here, Skullz, I think. I'm hearing some crazy rumors regarding another huge potential Microsoft acquisition. I don't want to say any specifics. I don't even know if all of this is true, but damn. And then there were a whole bunch of others saying supposedly Microsoft to announce huge acquisition. Who do you think it is? And they're posting memes of like people with jaw dropping and just how big it's going to be. Anyways, obviously all of this got the community raging, right? And all day on Saturday, I was reading and seeing videos and people talking about who's going to get acquired. Dude, I'm kid you not. There were acquisitions of people's, not acquisitions. Yeah, no, accusing. What's the word I'm looking for? Anyways,
Accusations.
Yeah, assumptions. Thank you. Assumptions as far as freaking EA. Some people think, oh, they could be buying EA. It makes sense. Or 2K Interactive is the one that's getting bought. And there's rumors that it's already been done and they're going to announce it. And another one with Square Enix and that they're going to announce it at the Tokyo Game Show. And then there's one for WB Games. And then it even went as far as Sony PlayStation, dude. Like, people said that they may have bought Sony, and I'm like, oh my gosh, these guys. Look, I'm not against Xbox. I love both systems. I plan on getting an Xbox here in the near maybe like 3 months. But we need to maybe hold down a little bit, because until Phil Spencer, or as people call him, Uncle Phil, or Xbox themselves come out and confirm anything, these are all just assumptions, right? Yeah. It's fun to make assumptions, though, I think. Like, I think it's always fun to, like, talk and assume and come up with theories and things like that. Do I think Xbox making an acquisition? Yeah, I think an acquisition is coming. Like, it makes sense. Xbox is trying to do a little bit better this generation than they did last generation, right? I don't think it's anyone as big as 2K Games or Interactive or, EA or Square Enix. Maybe WB. I don't know that whole story. I guess WB's been struggling or something. I don't know the details, but people think WB could get acquired. That way they can battle Sony with the Marvel situation, and they get DC and they have Marvel, and it's like, okay, I don't see the point of that, but then there was one that came around that actually did kind of make sense, and that was Ubisoft.
Yeah.
Well, actually, two that made sense. So Ubisoft, and the reason why I think Ubisoft would make sense is because they already advertise for Xbox, like, a lot. And the party lineup that Ubisoft has to port over to Game Pass, I mean, EA already does it for them, so Ubisoft, that makes sense. They just pull all of Ubisoft. And I think that'd be really cool, because imagine every single Assassin's Creed game on Game Pass.
I mean, it would move.
I think that'd be...
not move. It would align with their announcement of Assassin's Creed Infinity if it's a live service and it being on Game Pass. That would actually make a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, that one makes sense. The other one that would make sense is CG Project Red. And I know a lot of people got upset, like, oh, no, they need to stay independent. And I agree, they do. But the amount of money that they lost because of Cyberpunk hurt them big time. And they could be hurting a lot that Microsoft, and they advertise for Microsoft constantly. In fact, they announced the official release date at the conference in 2018.
They were partnered super close with Xbox during the ramp up for Cyberpunk. Like, they had the whole console made, and the Seagate drive and the controller, and I mean, not that CD
So
Projekt Red and Cyberpunk didn't market other avenues like through Razer, and I'm using the SteelSeries headset. But as
yeah,
far as like promoting the game and all that stuff, they were tied to Xbox a lot. So maybe during all that, and maybe Xbox was like, hey, dude, I mean, we had a lot of faith in you in this game, and I think we still have faith in you moving forward. But looks like you need some more guidance, and we'd be willing to give that to you.
yeah,
Because like again, CD Projekt Red, even though they've gotten their, um, I guess marks as developers, they're still just started as two guys renting out video games in Poland, so uh, they definitely could use more of that like actual influence from a legitimate you know business that's been in it for a long time.
yeah. And like I said, I think they're going to make an acquisition, and may it be as big as Bethesda. It just might. I mean, Microsoft has the money to do it.
Yeah,
That's the one thing with Sony and Microsoft is Microsoft. Realistically, if we're looking at it, I know it's just a joke and people throw it around to just throw steam at big, huge Sony fans. But Microsoft does have the money to buy out Sony if they wanted to easily. Um, but I think the difference between Microsoft and Sony is a Japanese owned company where Microsoft is not, and I think there's a whole legal situation when it comes to that. But that's something else I read, that apparently a lot of Japanese companies don't sell to American companies. So like if Microsoft went in and tried to get like Square Enix, they're a Japanese company. I don't think it would align because like two different entirely countries and entities. So I'm interested to see what happens. Tokyo Game Show's coming up. Maybe Xbox will announce like, hey, we do have a Japanese studio that we're working with and we're excited, and who knows who it could be. But yeah, supposedly it's supposed to be a really big acquisition. So we'll just have to wait and see. Until now, everything is just assumptions and rumors. Nothing's
yeah.
confirmed. So, but I thought it was just interesting how fast everyone just jumped on board. Oh, it's 2K. It's interactive. It's Rockstar. Here we go, baby. And I'm like, wow. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
EA, Rockstar, like all these major publishers and developers. I'm like, I don't think so. I really don't think so.
yeah, for something like CD Projekt Red, it actually, I know that a lot of people might disagree, but for me that kind of excites me because with something like Cyberpunk and how we saw how stretched out Cyberpunk got, and that kind of led to some of the performance issues. If it was
Mm-hmm.
only available on Xbox or PC, that could have helped with some of those bugs and issues. And I know it stretches further than just what it was available on. Like there's a lot of issues with the Red engine and stuff. Um,
Yeah.
but again, like when you see a game that's only available on PlayStation, those games run like smoother than butter. Like
Yeah.
that is clarified butter. You know what I mean? Like, so
Well,
if CD Projekt Red were to partner with Xbox and only be available, it wouldn't just be Xbox. It would be available on PC too, because I mean it's Microsoft. So if they were only available on Xbox, Microsoft, and Game Pass, that could help with some of those issues. Like if they had done that for Cyberpunk, if it was only available on Xbox, Game Pass, and PC, I think it would have helped with some of those issues and allowed them to optimize the game better.
I agree. It would have. And I think exclusivity is a good thing. I know some people look at it like it's a scary thing and like companies should stay independent and all that. But
Yeah,
this going on right now, because a lot of people I've seen on Twitter, and people are talking like, no, this isn't good. Like, leave these companies alone. Let them do what they want to do. Like, this is going to ruin gaming. No, this is great for consumers.
yeah,
When Xbox and PlayStation are somewhat quote unquote going head to head with each other, trying to one up each other, this is a good thing for consumers. Okay, this isn't bad. All that's going to happen is they're both going to be pushing out the best that they can do, and I'm excited to see what happens. Now, I don't think Xbox and Sony are technically rivals like everyone thinks they are, because they have two different visions. Like Xbox wants basically cloud streaming gaming. That's their goal. That's why they have Game Pass. PlayStation is very much focused on these hardcore blockbuster AAA-esque games and paying full price. So
Yeah.
Two different scenarios between the two companies.
Yeah, I mean, I don't work at either one to know what the mentality is to in regards to each other. I mean, I know they're in the same
Yeah.
market space, so there is rivalry there. Just being, divided amongst your consumers' wallets. Are you going with Xbox? Or are you going with Sony? And there is rivalry there where they need to compete with each other to see whose wallet goes towards them. But as far
Yeah.
as the fierceness of it, I can't speak on that. I just know that, like I say, the exclusivity part is something that as we move further and further and see examples such as Cyberpunk, where it was available on the last gen, the new gen, Stadia, it was stretched out in a way that a lot of people have the argument it maybe could have waited a year. It could have been optimized for only just the newer gen consoles rather than
Yeah.
being released on last gen. All types of arguments could be made, but if we cut down on the possibility of any of that and just say, hey, it's only available on PlayStation, it's only available on Xbox, it's only available on PC, whatever the case may be, we do see examples of games that when they are released like that, they're exclusive or at least timed exclusives, that they're way better optimized. And then you see something like when you get to like Horizon Zero Dawn, even though it ran freaking well on PS4, once they brought it over to PC, the port was still kind of iffy. So it's just, again, when a game is made specifically for that hardware, it's butter.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, especially with CG Project Red and how many ports they had. I mean, they had PS4, they had PS5, they had X or PC, Xbox One, Xbox Series, like, and we know how that all went down.
Yeah,
obviously. That's where it came into, when they announced like, hey, we have to delay the game again, and how mad people got upset with CG Projekt Red for doing that delay. Like, they got death threats and all that ugly stuff.
yeah,
It really opens the door up to realize like how much work really goes into these games and how much of the technical side of things that we as gamers don't understand. I don't think any of us gamers understand how development works in regards to why games get delayed or reasons. Now, not saying that delays are good for games always. It depends on the delay, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you just open the door up for something that we wanted to get into, which is all the delays that have been happening.
Oh gosh,
we have something as big as like Dying Light 2, which for me I'm extremely frustrated with, because they sort of took the same stance that CD Projekt Red did when they delayed it indefinitely. They delayed the game indefinitely. They had explicitly said like, the world that we're making is very ambitious, and we want to they also said like, as far as open worlds, we're not trying to make the biggest, we're trying to make the most like dense and like impactful. And once they came out with that release date, and I told you, as soon as they had that little show where it was the voice actor and the chick, and they were like on the roof, and I was like, dude, this feels so much like when Cyberpunk was being marketed, and like they had all their press and all that stuff. This feels just like that. And even after the delay, you were like, dude, I'm getting Cyberpunk vibes. And I was like, I've been telling you this. Like, it just, why delay it? Why is it now, after what, 2 to 3 months after you announced the release date,
delayed again?
And we're still almost 3 months away from the original release date. Why delay it again? You have such a strong stance in your position on how you were making this game, and now you're basically doing what CD Projekt Red did, where they're saying, oh, release when it's ready, and then they released it when it was definitely not ready. That was like putting food in the microwave and the middle was still frozen, like so.
And that's, I mean, I'll be completely honest, I'm scared for Dying Light 2. Like, I don't know if I'm going to get that day one. I'm going to wait for reviews. I'm going to wait to see how this plays out, because it is almost exactly like the same scenario. People are hyped as hell for that game. Hyped as hell. I don't know.
I really can't say like why is it that games like this are being delayed? Why is it that Battlefield got delayed a month? You know, same thing with Kenna, it got delayed a month. Like why do they do this? Um, you know, we didn't really have a set release date for Horizon, so I can't really say that that delay was like, you know,
That delay.
as bad, because you know they had just said like they were shooting for holiday 2021, but then they delayed it, and then they actually gave us a legitimate release date. So yeah, that one I feel is a little bit, I'm a little more lenient on it just because we didn't get an actual firm release date. And as well, like Horizon and Gorilla, they never really said like, oh yeah, we're only gonna release when it's ready, and all that type of stuff. That the I don't know who's making Dying Light 2, because I wasn't really into the first Dying Light, but I just know that their marketing, and when they delayed it indefinitely the first time, they kind of took a similar stance as CD Projekt Red. So that's what annoys me so much with seeing
Yeah.
them delay it. You know, another, I think it's 2 months to February. Yeah. So
Yeah. And that brings in, like, you bring up a point. It's just like the way they delay games. That like it already, to get upset over delay is understandable, but to, like, do what people do, like sending death threats and reaching out to developers, that, like, I don't think that's okay at all. Like, it's their choice to delay the game. Let them delay the game. But as long as they explain the reason for that, and how you bring that up is true, because like Dying Light 2, it was the same thing that you're like, oh, we just need more time on it. We want to give the best experience possible. Okay, well, give us the best experience possible, but don't give us a release date if like 2 months later you're going to delay it again.
yeah, and
Like,
then that's the other thing too that I brought up when you had told me that it was delayed, is like, dude, why would you give us a release date and then also open pre-orders? Like, that to me is also very, like, not offensive. I feel like that's a like a
yeah,
bad
and
word, but like, it just feels like a misplacement of your consumers' trust when you're opening the door
agreed.
for them to put money down for your game, and then you're like, oh, but actually we want to serve you the best experience possible, so let's delay it another 2 months. Like, dude, I just gave you however much money it is to pre-order it.
Yeah, and well, not even that. Depending if you got like the special edition or collector's edition or
Yeah,
whatever. The thing about that, though, is, again, I'm not a developer. I don't know what happens behind closed doors. I don't know how the whole technical stuff works, but I would assume that you would know if you'd be able to hit a deadline of December by announcing that in like July,
yeah,
and 3 months later, oh no, we were wrong. We have to delay it. Like, how do you not know a difference of 3 months to 6 months? Like,
yeah.
I'd assume they know this before, so I don't know.
And then to know 3 months away that you need 5 months. Like, how? Yeah, how are those
Yeah.
numbers done, and how is that
I,
handled?
I feel a lot of corporate influence comes in when it comes to these delays. I really do. I feel a lot of the corporate shareholders and things like that really get involved when it comes to stuff like
Well,
this.
yeah, I mean, we saw that with Cyberpunk, where like a lot of the
Yeah,
developers were like, "No, we need more time," and then they just the marketing side of everything was just getting, they were putting their foot in their mouth a lot, where they kept on delaying it and
yeah,
delaying it and delaying it, because they were like, "Okay, well, if you guys need more time, we'll give you more time, but this is the last one," like, so
yeah. Because you get these shareholders, and there's like, look, this has to get out, or we're
yeah,
losing money, basically. Um, I do want to look at this year, though, in general, because it wasn't just Dying Light that got delayed. I mean, I know we're focusing a lot on Dying Light 2, but there is a handful of games that were supposed to come out this year that had not. Um, Hogwarts Legacy is one of
yeah, I
those.
was about
We
to say
didn't get
that.
an official release date, but it did say when it showed us it was 2021. And then 2 months later, they brought the thing out saying like, hey, everyone's excited. We're so overwhelmed with how much praise we've gotten for this, and we just need a little bit more time. Hogwarts will launch in 2022. Now, when it comes to Hogwarts Legacy, I know there's a lot of stuff. And when we talked about a little bit of that, touched on this a little bit last night when we were playing Kenna, how a little bit of some political crap got involved with Hogwarts Legacy, and a lot of people were upset with the game and saying, "No, I don't want to buy this because person is going to get the money for it. And a lot of people were scared that, oh, this game's getting delayed because of the publicity that it's getting. Because apparently a lot of game journalists were trying to really get this fire started with controversy. I don't think they delayed it due to that. Kind of what you told me. You're like, dude, it's not. They would not pull it out just because of the publicity it's getting. If anything, I feel they'd use that to their advantage. I truly believe Hogwarts Legacy was delayed because they truly this is Avalanche Software. They're not known for big games. I looked up their roadmap of games, dude. They made Disney Infinity. That's what they're known for.
Yeah.
So for them to say, "Hey, we just need a little bit more time to provide what you guys are expecting," to me is them literally saying like, "Oh shoot, this is more popular than we were probably expecting." I don't know why they think that, but that's just an assumption. And we really want to make sure that we do this right. So I can truly see the Hogwarts Legacy got delayed for the right reason when it comes to that.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those examples where there wasn't an official release date yet. So if they're
Yeah,
pushing it back, like, hey, we're running into like an issue with maybe like, something, we're running into bugs or something. Well, like they know that they haven't put out a release date yet. So if they want to push it, they can push it back however much they want. It's just when you come to an
yeah,
example like Dying Light, where again, this was the issue with Cyberpunk, where they have this marketing strategy of telling the consumer, "Oh yeah, we're gonna release it when it's at its best state. We're doing the best that we can." And then, hey, oh, here's the release date. Like we're really confident in this. You could pre-order the game now. Oh wait, actually no, we need 2 more months. Like it just
yeah,
feels very unreliable, and I don't like seeing that again. For examples like Horizon and Hogwarts Legacy, where they don't have legitimate release dates, they have maybe like how Horizon did, where they had a release window of
a
like
release
there's
window.
rumors of like, oh yeah, they're shooting for like holiday 2021. They didn't say anything specific. They're shooting for it. You could hear that in the verbiage, like, hey, they're shooting for it. They know that there might be things that could prevent them from that, and they haven't
Yeah,
released an official release date. So when they do say, "Hey, we're actually pushing it more towards 2021 or 2022," and then they come out, "Hey, this is actually our release date," that's more respectable. Hopefully, they don't freaking delay it, because that'll contradict my whole argument. But
yeah,
that's just my point. Is when they're more in tune with like, we're shooting for this window, we're shooting for this, we're hoping to have it like this, but there's no actual release date, no pre-orders open, nothing of the sort. I respect that more than the situation with Dying Light, because it's again it's following in the footsteps of Cyberpunk.
yeah. Well, and then again, we have to keep in mind, and I don't use this as an excuse, but we got to keep in mind of the state of the world as well. And a lot of these developers also are not working in an office; they're working from home, and who knows what the challenges of working from home are like when it comes to
They
developing
gave us
games,
that
right?
release date in the middle of the pandemic, though.
That is true. That is true.
They should have already had
Um,
an idea of how they were working remote, how that's affected their. It's not like they gave us that release date, a month into the pandemic, where like then people had to start going remote, and it's affected their work, progress. Like they gave us that release date in the middle. I mean, it's almost been 2 years
yeah,
now, so that excuse, I feel, is very overused in regards to, you've already had people working remote. You've already had people that needed to take time off because they had to do their isolation. You've already had all these things that you can account for, and you could say, okay, well, it took this amount of time when we've had to get used to it. Let's see, it should take us this amount of time. Don't give us a
yeah,
release date in the middle of the pandemic and then use the pandemic as an excuse.
right. Um, I know when it comes to that, I mean, like the motion capture can be kind of difficult
Man, they've got
working
all the
from home.
cinematics and stuff already shown.
That's
It ain't
true.
it ain't about the
That's
motion
true.
capture.
That's true. That's true. That's true. All right. Yeah, I take that back. Let's see.
I mean, they
Abandoned. That's
could
just a
definitely. I mean, there's stuff that like they put into Cyberpunk after, like there's a little Easter egg with Carrie Eurodyne where he does the whole "you're breathtaking." So that had to be done after Keanu was on stage. So there's definitely
yeah,
last minute stuff that they could do, and like they did his little pose for the photo mode.
yeah,
So I'm not discrediting, like, yeah, they could possibly bring someone in to do motion capture for Dying Light or something like. But I mean, when you have so much of the game already shown and so many assets that can be, visible, it's like it's not like they're in still in the early stages, you know.
Yeah. Going down this list, so it looks like we have Abandon that I think is just a bunch of hogwash and we're never going to get it. And it's just a huge joke and people need to stop following about it because
That
it's just,
supposedly Kojima, not Kojima game.
yeah, it's a bunch of crap. And so many people are following on this. And I'm like, it is such a troll. Battlefield 2042, I know the reason why they said they delayed that is because they were hoping to be in office. So that's what they said in the statement. They were hoping to be in office, but obviously things changed. So
I also heard that I
yeah,
agree with how this one is going to be the biggest player wise. So they're just trying to get prepared with like servers and all that type of stuff.
yeah,
Which
yeah.
again,
So
I could respect that. I mean, it's only 1 month, and again, Battlefield has never took the stance of like we're going to release when it's ready. Like they're just one of those
well,
where again that's a valid excuse of like, hey, this is going to be our biggest playable
yeah,
experience with
and
120, I think it's 128 players for a match.
yeah.
So I can understand that one. It's definitely not something I like to hear. It's definitely something I feel they should have been more aware of. But that one I'm not up in
Well,
arms
that
about.
and I also know that even after that delay that they gave, which is just a month delay,
Yeah,
they have open betas that they're going to be announcing here soon too. So,
yeah.
Rainbow Six Extraction, I don't really know much about that. I guess it had a release date and then they pushed it to this year in January, but the
Yeah,
game looked,
I could care
yeah,
less about that game. They could delay it all they want.
yeah, you know what you want. Lord of the Rings Golem. I don't know anything about that, but it's Lord of the Rings, so I'm interested.
Yeah,
I guess it was that.
it's supposed to be like a more accurate like take from the books of like Gollum's story or something.
Yeah,
It's interesting, but I don't know. It's not something I think I see myself playing.
I'm going to say so. I guess it was supposed to come out in 2021, and I guess they delayed it due to the pandemic. I guess so. Go. I'm going to keep an eye on that. I didn't even know that was happening. We talked about Horizon Forbidden West, Evil Dead the game. I don't even think that even had a
That
freaking
one,
release window.
that one, they said they were delaying it because they wanted because it's going to be like almost like a Left 4 Dead, like you're playing with 4 people. They delayed it because they're working on like almost like a single player version.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah.
Okay, I'm down.
So to allow you to not have to worry about needing 3 other people to play with, it's just going to allow
Yeah.
you to play alone.
Stray, I'm okay with this delay because I think it's one individual who's working on the game. And it looks absolutely fantastic for a one-person
I didn't know that.
game. I think I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it's just one person. And then the other ones we don't technically have release dates for, but I guess they got delayed. So Crimson Desert, which is one I'm actually really looking forward to. When I saw the trailer on the Game Awards last year,
Yeah.
that had a release date for winter of 2021. And then they came out and delayed it indefinitely, which scares me. And the reason for that is because they come up with more ideas that they want to add to the game that they already have.
I could respect that. That sounds cool.
Yeah, so when I read that, I was like, okay, cool. But at the same time, like, just, I don't know. When I hear indefinitely, I'm just kind of like, oh.
Yeah.
So, because it's like, okay, we could be looking at the next 6 months to 2 years. So, who knows when we'll see that. But yeah, there's no official release date for that yet. Resident Evil Reverse, which is the multiplayer version of Resident Evil, has been delayed to 2022 as well. That was set to come out when a Village was supposed to be released. It was supposed to be a add-on to the game, but they delayed it to make it bigger, I guess. I don't really know much about what's going on there, but yeah, I guess they delayed it to 2022. But we don't have an official release date for it yet.
Okay.
Ghostwire Tokyo, we already know got delayed due to the pandemic. Lego Star Wars, I am a little worried because I don't know, like, did it officially say it was coming out in 2020 and then they moved it to 2021, then to 2022?
I don't think they've had a release date for that. I could be wrong.
They never
I don't
okay.
remember seeing a legitimate, because I've had that game in my Steam wishlist for a long time, and it just says like to be announced.
Yeah, I have it on my list too, and it just says TBA, so I'm just like, all right. but I guess early 2022 is what they're shooting for. I look, I'm not saying this game's gonna be horrible, but I'm just like, it's a Lego game.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like, what is going on?
Yeah, but it's also from the trailers and stuff that I've seen, it doesn't look like just a Lego game where it's just
No, it looks like a
it looks
super
like
ambitious Lego game.
yeah, like it looks like a legit like game where you play is like Lego. Like I don't know how to explain it, but I grew up playing a bunch of the Lego games, and this doesn't look like
Anything
that.
like it. Yeah. And then last one that they have on the list is Gotham Knights. That was set for a 2021 release window. As soon as they announced coming 2021, when I saw the trailer and the gameplay footage and they had reset for 2021, I'm like, this is going to get delayed because it was in the middle of the pandemic, like the time we were getting hit hard.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is going to get delayed, and then it got delayed. But yeah, I guess they're shooting for a 2022 release date. And at the DC fandom that they're having here in October, the middle of October, I believe, they've already confirmed that Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad will be there. And I think we're going to get a release date for Gotham Knights at that show.
Nice. I'd like to see some sort of gameplay trailer for Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how that plays out. There's not a lot of info we know on that, but
yeah.
Anyways, all in all, delays can be frustrating. Delays can be a pain in the butt, depending on how they're handled. Dying Light 2 is an exception because it's just not looking good, but I hope we're wrong. I still plan on playing the game regardless. I'm just not probably going to buy it day one. I'm going to wait for many, many reviews because I do not want to go through a cyberpunk situation again.
Yeah.
But all these other games, if it is for a reasonable situation, I am all for delays. I think delays can be good for games as long as it's, done for the correct reason.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
I think the last thing we wanted to talk about that we feel was going to take up most was our thoughts and feelings on Deathloop. So I kind of just want to jump right in with mine real quick.
Go for it.
I did not finish the game. I installed it. I got pretty far, but I just
go ahead and uninstall it.
I what?
You did go ahead and uninstall it?
I did uninstall it. Yeah.
Oh dang, son.
Yeah. So my issues with this game was the fact that I sucked at it for one, and I'm not a fan of Dishonored. It's made by the same people that did Dishonored, so I'm not even surprised why I didn't even think about that. But yeah, if it was made by the same people that did Dishonored, and I'm not a huge fan of that game. The one thing that really, and I get the whole Deathloop, like replayability, you die, you start over again. I get that. I understand that. But the mechanics of this game, where it's like, hey, kill this main guy to get this superpower. Oh, but you need to have the infusions or whatever they're called, and you need to infuse it. If not, you lose it. Well, my problem is I'm sitting here trying to do a level, and I get this awesome power, and I try to go infuse it, and I don't have enough of the freaking points to fuse it to me. So I'm just like, okay, well, now what do? I just worked my freaking butt off on that level for like 4 hours, and now I don't have enough to fuse this freaking thing to me, so now I'm going to lose it next time I die. That annoyed the crap out of me, dude.
That, I think, is more attributed to you weren't playing the game right.
Push to the face.
No, seriously, because like to get those infusion points, the Residium, I think it's called, you either need to like find it out in the world, or you get it also from killing the Visionaries. And what that incentivizes is if you kill the Visionaries and you already have one of those powers, like the one that teleports.
Oh,
you,
like
if you kill.
Are you saying like going back and killing the Revisionaries like more than once?
Yeah, if you kill them, if you kill them again, it'll also allow you to upgrade that power.
Oh,
so
okay.
You weren't playing the game right.
I was playing the game. Well, see, and there's an issue. Like, I didn't know there was a right or wrong way to play the game. I thought you were just playing the game to have fun.
The game has a lot of exposition, but it kind of fails in explaining some parts to you unless you read every piece of freaking,
Yeah, there was a lot of reading to that. And it was still kind of confusing.
Yeah.
It's a deep game, dude. That is not a game that you just. It's not for everyone. I'll tell you that much. Um, well, then I take back everything I said about that then because I didn't realize you could do that. So that's
Yeah,
my bad.
because I've really had no
Um,
problem infusing whatever I wanted to keep with me. Honestly, I think I have more residuum than I need because if you don't use it all, you lose it if you go to the next day. So that's kind of the part where like if
yeah,
you
that was
get
my problem.
if you get too much of that infusion point thing, you lose them. Um, so that's kind of like a caveat is like if you don't want to infuse certain items or if you trash certain items to get the residuum whatever it's called. Um,
Yeah,
if you progress to the next day, you'll lose those points. So you have to start over the
yeah,
day with like an empty wallet basically.
and that's probably what I didn't do because yeah, I kept losing them. So I definitely wasn't playing the game right. So I have no my opinion on this is voided. Um, what's your reason for not liking the game then?
I mean, you already saw my frustration. I don't know if it's PC because you had said you
Oh,
got into a match right
yeah, with
away.
Juliana.
But I haven't been able to play as Juliana at all. I literally spent over an hour sitting in a queue to play as her, and about 15 minutes of that hour was trying to find a match. It said that I was connected, and then I sat in the lobby waiting. I tried to press that little button that says connected to see if maybe it would like maybe I just was missing something. I needed to press a button to initiate it, but there was nothing I could press that allowed me to play as her. I could have been playing the game wrong because you said you said that you found a match within like 5 minutes or something. Um,
Yeah, I clicked into her, and like 5 minutes later, I was in.
yeah, I still haven't been able to play as her, which is frustrating because I think I watched Game Ranks is like before you buy or something, and they had said that playing as Juliana like allows you to reap certain rewards, such as like outfits or cosmetic items. So
Hmm.
I was like, dang, dude, I kind of want to play with her. And one of the things that I really enjoyed about the game was the voice acting for both Colt and Juliana. So to play as
Yeah,
her and kind of see her side of everything would have been really cool, but I couldn't. So that was really
that
frustrating.
is kind of annoying, and that's kind of a big technical issue on their end that I
Yeah,
hope they can
because they give the
fix.
players the option to turn off that ability to be invaded by her, so that already eliminates how many matches you could get into. And that's the whole premise is like you can't just jump into a match that has an AI cult because that's kind of the part that I don't understand is like you can get invaded by an AI Juliana, but you can't invade
You
an
can't
AI cult.
invade an AI cult.
So it's like you're only
Maybe
doing
that's why you weren't able to get into the game, is because everybody just turned Juliana off.
exactly yeah that's what it's kind of weird and you're restricted to that and I haven't been able to queue up into a game. Um, Other than that, I think it's just it's one of those games that you really need to put you know all of your sort of like mental effort into unpiecing and unraveling what's trying to go on and really like take the time to I was just in this level area, well now I got to go back and you have to cross over and really check every leave no stone unturned, but at the same time
Yeah,
you have to like go back to an area that you just were, unturn that stone again, and find that there was a code that you could put under it. Like it's
yeah.
really a taxing game where you really need to put a lot of effort into it. It's not just how a lot of people have been saying like, oh, it's fun, it's a shooter, like you could just go around shooting. Like that's not what the game is because there's really only a
No,
few
it's not.
enemies. What you're doing is trying to uncover this mystery of what the loop is and how to break it, and that you're going to be spending most of your time trying to find a code for a door that you need to unlock. So
And to
that
be completely honest, I don't even recommend you go in blazing guns because you're not going to last long.
yeah, I mean you could depending on like what gun you have or what type of tactics you use, what powers you have.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, it's definitely not a game that I think uh, it is meant for like a rampage or something. It's
it's
more
it,
it's a game
yeah.
that's it's clues and tiptoeing your way around, trying to find, a way to break that loop. I still haven't
Yeah.
finished it yet. I do plan on finishing it, but I think that's the argument that I wanted to make in the beginning of the video when we talked about Kenna, where I felt Kenna was very fairly priced because it's an experience that I think is very indicative of the price tag, where I do not feel that way with Deathloop. I don't feel that it's
Yeah.
worth $60.
Yeah. I agree. I think it was a little overpriced. I do know this game is very, very acclaimed in many people's eyes, but for me, I'm not that hardcore gamer either. Like I like the Dark Soul games and the very difficult level, like difficulty games and stuff. I'm not big on those. So that might be another reason why I didn't really enjoy this game, is just because I just got sick and tired of dying over and over and over and over and again. But I understand it's Deathloop, so like you're meant to die. It's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
But this definitely isn't. This is for hardcore gamers. I feel like this is for someone who's really like into that, kind of taxing, taking your time. It is definitely not one of those games you throw on one of those days. Like, yeah, I feel like I want to play a game. Yeah, let's play some Deathloop for a little bit. Like that's not how
Yeah.
that plays out.
And I wouldn't say Kenna is either, because Kenna has some of those like puzzle elements as well, where it takes a little bit of thought
Yeah.
to play it as well. Like it's
But they do have that. That's the thing, though, is and this is where some people are going to disagree with me, and probably you will too. Kenna has that difficulty setting, though, so you can like drop the difficulty when you would like to, or not if you don't want super competitive combat, you can drop it to like your story mode or whatever.
So does Deathloop. I mean, Deathloop has a difficulty bar as well.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't?
No, there's no difficulty settings in Deathloop.
I could have swore there was.
Nope. I checked. They don't have a difficulty.
Huh. I guess I'll have to go back and check that. I could have swore I set the difficulty to like the normal standard. That's usually how I play games, and then once I get more used to it, I'll either put it harder, or if there's a level like there was a few times, like that was another thing I think I forgot to explain about Kenna, is like you really need to use those rot. Like there was an enemy that I was stuck on for like 15 minutes. I was getting so annoyed, and then I realized, oh, I have to use my rot to kind of like incapacitate them for a minute, and then hit them up and beat them down a little bit. And yeah, it was like I had to use the rot, So that was something that I think if I didn't realize that sooner, I probably would have lowered the difficulty.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I don't know. I'm just a person who likes games with difficulty options, and it doesn't force me to be like, you have to play it this way on, like I like the option to choose the difficulty that I choose. That way I can plan out the way of how my game session will play out.
Yeah. Well, I think that's pretty much it for this episode. I think we covered the stuff that we really wanted to talk about for this time.
Yeah, so for those who listened, if you guys want to comment down below what you thought of Deathloop, let us know if you're playing it. If you guys are playing Kenna, let us know. How do you guys feel about the digital physical situation? Like all the topics we touched up on today. We want to hear your thoughts. And if you're now newly listening to this and you liked listening to us, feel free to like the video and also subscribe, because we're trying to grow our channel. So, yay. Thanks for listening, guys. I'm the Nerdy Giant.
I'm the Blind Prophet. Make sure you guys are staying hydrated.
Bye.